All right, good morning, everyone. We're Gym Therapy Inc., and today is the 11th of February.
Already.
January's gone.
It's been going fast, so we have a special guest today, Leroy Moyer. 2 weeks in a row.
I know,
My
I'm
favorite
excited.
people. My favorite people. This is a really good day and tough topic to talk about, but I'm really glad to talk about it.
Yes.
I think it's going to help a lot of people.
Trista said 2 weeks in a row. If you didn't get the chance, go watch or listen to the one with JP. It was a pretty incredible interview, I thought. So I thought it was really great.
And if you know anyone that's in the LGBTQ community that kind of has a hard time fitting in or feeling accepted, feeling loved, like he has a really inspirational talk about just being yourself and living in your authenticity. And when you do that, you find the right people for you.
Yeah, and you don't have to be in the community to take a lot from that because, especially if you're 60 plus, to see this guy do what he does, like you can do this too. I know my mom, she's like, I'm too old, but she's been saying that since she's like 40. So, and I'm 40 and I don't feel too old.
And
so.
if you think about it too, like he's 68 years old. He is the unicorn. Him and another guy that are in their 60s, Randy, they have unicorns deadlifting as their shirts. Nice. I call them my unicorns. But you can come into the gym. We're not going to make you do box jumps, but I might have you step up on plates and step down. You're going to have to use steps in your life, and you want to continue doing that. Sitting down on chairs and standing up without assistance. We'll practice that. Those are things that you can do. You're just going to, it might not look the same as some of the other people in the gym, but everyone's doing their own version, and that's all that matters.
You got what, from like 68 to what, like 4, 5?
6-year-old is my youngest. Yeah.
Wow.
So let's talk about weeks and what's going on and what's upcoming. So, Alyssa, we haven't seen you for a while. What's your week been like?
This week, I mean, every week for me is pretty much the same. I go to work, I come home, go to work, come home. I do have something really exciting going on. Not this week, but next. And I've been waiting for this for a long time.
Like, nice. Can you talk about it?
Yeah, whenever I first got hired, whenever I first got hired, I wasn't even there for 90 days, and like the bigwigs came to me and pulled me out of the classroom, and they said, we want to send you to Harrisburg for 5 days so you can train to be an SCM trainer. Nice. SCM stands for Safety Crisis Management, which is, to dumb it down a little bit, I guess, it's just like restraint training.
Okay.
So that never happened, and it was supposed to be in August last year, but it never happened because we were so short-staffed. They couldn't have like 2 or 3 people just go for a whole week and not have those people. So we finally got enough staff, so there's 5 of us that are going.
Yay!
Down in Harrisburg.
Good for you.
Congratulations.
I'm really excited for it, but I talked to my boss about it because both of them, they've been there, and they're like, it's intense. You're not going to want to do anything after it's over. You're going to be there at 8, and you'll leave at 4. And you go to your hotel room, and you study, and you go to sleep. You're not going to want to do anything. He's like, you're going to be sore in places you never thought could be sore.
If you've ever been in a fight.
It's awful. Pretty much.
I mean, that's good. At least they're giving you advice and giving you that heads up. So
I'm
sure it's emotionally draining, too.
Yeah, he told us, he's like, we're going to have a talk. So we're waiting on that. But I mean, no, other than that, just work.
Good.
I was in a fight one time and the kid called a timeout.
I mean, that's fair.
I was like, you want a 30-second or a full timeout?
It's like tag, you know? Like, you get that, you gotta tie your shoes sometimes. You gotta breathe. Right,
imagine getting beat up by me, too. My week was great. Rotary had our 92 Races event last night. That's why I'm wearing a shirt today. Dressed the same as I was yesterday, but don't judge me.
We are.
I know. But last year we were able to donate $12,000 to all the nonprofits, and most of that money came from the 92 Races event. Last night seemed close to the same. Maybe I'm hoping a little bit more, but we had a great time. June Stewart did a great job. Tammy Garzarelli, 2 weeks in a row. You get a shout out, Tammy. Monica Jones, Holly Prado. There's a bunch of people did a really good job, and I thank Brock Brewer for doing and Adam Fleek for doing the banking last night because that was pretty difficult.
All fantastic people that you just named too. Yeah. Great people.
Yeah, but it was a great event, and it went super smooth. So we're thankful for that. I did teach a class in Bolivar on Thursday, and we talked about how and when to help people. That went really good. That's it. I think that's it for me.
How did that class go?
It went well. Yeah. There's, I bet there's about 3 people that could hardly move the next day because they were struggling a little bit. We had to switch from doing sit-ups to doing the ones in the chair. Whatever. Yeah.
Are you actually doing workouts now?
I've been doing work. You missed a lot.
In classes?
Yeah, you missed a lot.
Listen, I sent them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wrote them, which is good. I mean, and that's good that Justin has that knowledge to share it with people, when we all can't be there. And we're still taking that knowledge and sharing it. So that's good.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to go to that class, I drive down. You can ride with me, even if you just want to help or you want to participate. It's a good class, and there's a lot of people down there that need it.
Yeah. Nice. What about you, DJ? What was your week like?
It was pretty busy. I work at the hospital in Du Bois in interventional radiology, so every day is different. It's pretty involved. It can be pretty stressful when it's always changing, which is nice, but at the same time, it can be a lot. But
Sure.
then I kind of do what you guys do. I go to work, come home, go to the gym.
Yeah.
Try and, have some me time to recoup and get ready for the next day. So,
Good.
yeah.
What kind of exercise are you doing now?
So in Clearfield, we're kind of limited to gyms, so we frequent the YMCA there.
Good.
Met a lot of good people and got me on a pretty good track.
Yeah.
So I like to go down there. There's a body pump class, which is a weightlifting class, and then there's also a HIIT class that I like to go to, and then also step aerobics.
Good for
Which
you.
kind of sounds old school, but it's pretty intense.
My favorite part
I
about,
bet it
my
is.
favorite part about gyms is everybody always says, like, I'm going to this gym, and these people are so great.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what gym you go to, you're going to find your people, and I love that.
When you find your the community of people too, and sometimes if you don't find it in the first gym, go to the next one.
Right.
Like you'll find people that are doing the things that you want to do, and that's important. Our week at the gym was pretty good. It was National Women in Sports Day. I think it was Tuesday. And so this weekend we had a workout for partner workout for Valentine's Day.
Nice.
And we raised a little bit of money for our member Jill. She is joining a pro volleyball league.
No kidding.
And she is like a certified badass.
Oh, absolutely.
Jill's like
is.
6 foot
She's
tall,
awesome,
and
yeah.
she is amazing.
I get totally emasculated by her.
She can deadlift, 400 pounds?
Yeah,
It's
it's
ridiculous.
unbelievable, yeah.
And she's so strong, and she's so sweet. And
so sweet.
she's been working really hard to get some recognition for women's volleyball. And they found a pro league, and right now, of course, it's athlete funded because
everything has to be.
yeah,
Right, yeah.
it's just one of those things. And her getting recognition for women's sports is super important. So
That's awesome.
we backed that. People are still donating, but I told them that the gym would match whatever they donated. So that's what we're gonna do
Nice.
to get her
Good.
to get her dreams to come true. And we have about 23 people this year signed up for the CrossFit Open that are ready for it. So this is our biggest year yet.
Good.
And lots of new people. We got quite a few new people at the gym ready to throw down this year. So super excited about that. And next Sunday is our coat drive.
Yeah, coat drive 10 to 2. So if you need a
Next
coat or
Sunday.
want to donate,
Okay.
10 to 2 at the gym next week. I forgot to mention, I did my 6-month psych appointment, psych evaluation,
Nice.
and I'm going to take a 400 question test on ADHD. We decided, I think that's probably...
You're going to be able to
Yeah, I think
concentrate
that's
long
a good
enough to
one.
do the test.
Yeah. But they said there's a lot of overlaps between bipolar anxiety and ADHD. See, I forgot what I was talking about right there.
So that's funny that you mentioned that. I just because I learn so much on TikTok sometimes, but it's actually really hard getting diagnosis with ADHD right
Yes.
now. And for adults, it's a big struggle. So I'm glad that she is doing that for you.
Well, I
That's
know
great.
when I was a kid, I got tested for advanced classes and I got tested for remedial classes because I was just all over the place. But 25 years ago, they didn't. Well, I was like 6. I was like 35 years ago. I did want to say, very sad to hear that Dr. Busgani passed.
What?
He was the head psych. Yeah, it's something. But my psychiatrist Ashley Pruger's gonna stick around and step up and take some.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
take some
And I know that's
responsibility.
affected some people personally.
Yes, I
That
talked to
was
her.
their doctor, and that's a very rough situation. So thoughts to their family.
It's not.
It's
Yeah.
hard, and patience.
I had a
Yeah,
couple.
for sure.
I had a couple clients when I worked with Pearstar that always talked about him and how great he was because
He was a very polarizing guy because he had a very strong personality, and some people loved him and some people didn't.
Yeah,
so,
like,
but
I
I
would-
think the people that did was fantastic. Yeah.
I would go in for my appointment and it'd be like a whole maybe 7 to 10 minutes. At the same time, another person went in for their appointment but saw that Dr. Buzagani instead, and they were in there for 25, 30, 40 minutes. Mine was just like, "Are you okay? Casey, bye."
That's a
And
great,
he was
great
like
girl.
spearheading the new department of mental health at the hospital. So hopefully all of that keeps going through because we definitely need the mental health support in the area.
Yeah, and we lined up one of the marketing people for that to do our podcast. And last night, I found out Steve Klein, IUP's baseball coach, World Series champion, is going to come on too.
Good.
Excited.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's get into some conversation here with Deidre a little bit. Where did you grow up, Deidre?
Not too far from here, just down in Hillsdale. A little bit of the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
You had to drive 20 minutes or half hour to go
To get
get
anywhere.
groceries or gas or anything, but it was good. I grew up on a farm. We had animals, we had 4-wheelers, we had a swimming pool, we had all the fun toys.
Good.
Half cars, half trucks.
Right.
What was your childhood like?
I'd say it's pretty typical for all of us that grew up out this way. Just playing outside and playing with your friends. Living out there, the only downside, and really wasn't downside, but you had to get a ride anywhere you wanted to go. You couldn't just walk. Now I live in town, and it is very convenient to just be able to walk.
Yeah.
Yes, everywhere. How many siblings did you have?
I have an older sister, and then my brother was younger.
Okay. So, talking about Leroy growing up. So, Leroy is our namesake for our group here, the Rooster's Nest. And yeah, got your sweatshirt on. And let's talk about a little bit, if you're comfortable with it, about what happened to Leroy.
It actually is still kind of a blur, but I remember getting a phone call, and at nighttime I always put my phone on silent. And I woke up in the morning and had a missed call and a voicemail from my mom, which was not like her to do that, but she just said, "Hey, call me when you can." Made it sound like it was not a big deal.
Oh man.
That's your mom's
Your mom's,
personality.
yeah.
I was surprised I got a phone call at all, probably. But so then I called her, and she had said, she's like, "Oh, Leroy was in an accident. He was out on his dirt bike," and I kind of laughed. I was like, "Oh, well, is he okay? What did he hurt? What did he break?" And I could hear the trembling in her voice, and she said, "Well, he didn't make it."
Ugh. I can't even imagine what that was like as your sibling, hearing that and getting that phone call, because as a friend, I remember exactly every piece of getting the phone calls in the morning. I mean, Adam and I woke up and we had missed calls from two people that our only connection between those two people was Leroy. And I'm pretty sure I ripped Adam out of bed and I was like, "You need to call," and we had that. And it's such a hard thing to talk about because it's so heartbreaking.
And even though it's over 5 years ago now, it still feels like it just happened.
But it feels like forever since we saw him.
Yeah.
It's like I was on the drive here, I was listening to I call it my Kermie playlist. And we called him Kermie because every time Adam would write his name into his text, it would change to Kermie instead of Leroy. So he became Kermie.
But he just embraced it.
Yep.
As he did with most things.
How did he get the nickname Rooster?
This is a great story.
Yeah. It's,
Your dad loves to tell this story.
Yeah. So forgive me if I don't do all of the specifics correctly, but I guess there was this other kid kind of gave him a hard time sometimes, and Leroy never really backed down. He was he liked to get his 2 cents in when he could. So the other guy told him, you're as ornery as a something rooster. I don't know. and it is just stuck. And like I said, forgive me if I'm not telling the story exactly right, but that's what it boiled down to.
They call him a Banny Rooster, I think is what he called him.
Yeah.
And that is a great description of like when Leroy, if you would just be like, hey, I don't really think that you should do that. He'd be like, don't tell me what to do, lady. That was his favorite thing to tell me. And I'm like...
He was probably the origin of that. Oh, I can't do that? Here, hold my beer.
Yes.
I'll show you how to do it. Yeah.
I remember one conversation Leroy and I had, and our friend groups overlapped a little bit, so we
that's
weren't...
because he was friends with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't go anywhere without running into somebody.
Yeah, I think it was like December 21st, 23rd. It was just a couple days before Christmas. We both showed up at Bootleggers, the local bar back home, and so we were sitting beside each other, and we just kept talking about energy drinks and beer and stuff like that, and how everything you need to do in moderation. Like if you drink one of these throughout the course of 4 hours, it's much different than chugging it. And we were talking about moderation, and we ended up just getting blasted drunk too. It was Willie Nelson said everything in moderation, including moderation. So I'm okay with that.
We ran track together. I have a couple of things to say. We ran track together, and his legs are just so long, so he could jump like.
It's only 5'7".
Yeah, but he had really long
He was
legs.
real
and
short torso.
I used to call him a dinosaur because when he ran, his arm, his hands curled up like this, and he looked like a dinosaur. So me and Mr. Mac would pick on him. We call him a dinosaur or whatever. But Leroy was also I hate my boyfriend. Can I talk to you about it? Kind of person, you know what I mean?
Oh, guys love that.
Do they know?
I want to meet a guy like you.
Him and one other person, I'm not going to say their name, but if something was wrong, you didn't even have to tell him. He just knew that something was wrong, and it didn't matter if it was a friend problem, a boyfriend problem, a mom problem, whatever. He's like, you can tell me about it. I'll just listen if you want, Yep. And he did. He just listened. Always listened to everything.
He would just stare at you with those intense blue eyes, and you're like, he'd just melt your heart.
I hate you guys. You guys are the worst. Absolute worst.
It's I forget what I'm saying because I'm looking at your eyes.
And he was one of those people too. He only wanted the best for you. Mm-hmm. No matter if he agreed or disagreed with you, he wouldn't tell you what to do. He just wanted the best for you. Mm-hmm. And it's just how he always was. And when Adam and I got married, we laughed because we wanted to put him in a half suit, half dress. Because he was both of our best friends were like, can we do something like that? Just stitch them both. And
that's cute.
And on our wedding, him and Fetterman and Adam would get together, and they were working on a dance for the wedding, a surprise. And I would be calling him, I'm on my way home, and I would get there and everyone would leave, and I was like, why doesn't anyone want to see me? I'm so upset. I want to see everybody. And they were practicing a dance, and they were all sweaty, and then they would leave. Of course, there was beer involved. They would all leave, and then when I got home, I was like, well, where did everyone go? He's like, oh, they had to leave, and then I found out what was really happening. But that's the kind of friend that's not something he would typically be involved in, and he did that for us.
Yeah, I can't see Adam dancing either though.
Oh, it was hilarious. I had this giant wig on. It was the party song. What is that? I'm sexy and I know it.
Oh my god.
That's what they did. And they had boxers on that said, I love Hanson, I love Isaac, I love Taylor, I love Zach. And they were all dancing. Yes. That's what happened. So those are the kind of friends that we have in this area that will do those things with. Yeah. So what's your favorite memory of Leroy? Either adulthood, childhood?
It's really hard to pick a favorite.
It is hard.
Yeah, there's a lot, and that's one thing that is so hard about all of this is when I try to think about certain things, I don't want to forget.
Uh-huh.
So as much as it hurts to try and remember things, like I just try to make myself do it. And like I can, anytime he would laugh or, you know, yell at somebody, like I can't hear that. And then sometimes I know when I laugh really hard, I'm like, oh my God, I sound like my brother. Which is good and bad, I guess, at the same time.
Yeah.
One of my I don't know, there's tons of them. One of the memories that sticks out the most is four-wheeler related. We had like a super highway between our house and the neighbor's house, like down through the woods it was literally like through the woods, over the creek, around the bend, and you were at Matco's. And they had a trampoline, we had a swimming pool, and we just back and forth. And Stevie, I would always ride on the back with him, and Leroy was on his other four-wheeler. We're trying to get through this muddy part, and me and Stevie got through it, and we expected Leroy to be right behind us, and we turned around, and his four-wheeler's like on the side and in the bushes. we're like, what happened? He's like, oh, my foot slipped. Not a big deal. We're probably like I was probably 15, so he'd have been like 13.
Did you guys fight?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good. You should have.
Brother and sister for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we were pretty close in age, and then we have an older sister, and there's 8 years between her and I, so there's 10 years between her and Leroy. So it was usually me and Leroy against her.
That's good.
Or her against us, whatever way you want to put it. But as we got older, that obviously all evened out. And
Yeah.
So I've known Leroy like my entire life. In school, used to like walk me to classes, like love Leroy. I didn't know until we were out of school. I was with Adam. We went over for a Easter dinner, and I found out that you had an older sister. I had no idea.
I didn't know that either.
I had no idea that Carrie was your sister, and I guess probably because of the 10-year age gap.
Yeah.
But we left, I was like, Adam, who was that? And he's like, that's his sister. I was like, he never told me of all of the heartfelt conversations we've had over the years. He was just like, and he would know. I think our conversations always revolved around what we were doing, and it was just funny that that's when I found out. I was like, I thought you think you know everything about someone.
Yeah.
I remember one Easter when you guys were there, and there's a picture, like, you and Leroy and Adam are all piled up on that couch together.
Yep, and that was one of my favorite, definitely one of my favorite Easters, and he ate an entire jar of applesauce as his dessert. Your mom just brought a spoon in the jar, and that's what he ate, and I was like, that's your dessert.
That seems like a norm for him then.
Yeah.
That and olives.
I remember watching a video, I think it was hot sauces that he was trying. Like he was, I don't know, it was Adam was in it too, or recording it, but there was like 6 or 7 different hot sauces lined up, and Leroy tried each one of them.
We had challenges. We had this thing.
Yeah, he seems like a challenge.
So these are my favorite memories of Leroy is the challenges. Mm-hmm. He would say something like, I could eat 50 hush puppies, and we're like, challenge accepted. So I had stopped on my way home from teaching a Zumba class to buy 50, and they would only give me like 10 or 15. So we went grocery shopping one day, and we found a box.
Nice.
That you could make them yourselves. So the one was literally...
Why would they not sell you like individual orders? That's so weird. That's why wife shut down.
Yeah, we disgusted them. They're like, you know what, we're done. We made one that was the size of a softball, and I'll have to give you those pictures so you can put them up. But he's literally like, his belly is like bloated out, and he ate like half a bottle of ketchup, an entire like 50 servings of these hush puppies, ate them all, and I don't know. Nope, he drank beer and then laid underneath the coffee table for about 4 hours. And we used to have like friend nights, so we would have like rock band nights. And we had a ridiculous rock band name. I think it was called Polluted Butt Cakes was the name of our band. Where it came from, I have no idea. But we played...
That jokes are so funny.
So we made this rock band, and we did this like every Thursday. We had a friend night. And I think that when the reality of, you know, like Leroy having an accident passing, like things would never be the same. And we talked about that in grief episodes before of like how that just flips everything upside down and how hard grieving is, I think, is just because, you know, those things won't be the same anymore. And we used to have like sushi nights and friend nights, like where we'd make sushi. And then there was always a trip to it. You didn't just get someone to make you sushi. One of them was completely loaded with sriracha sauce, and you didn't know which one you were going to get.
I don't like sushi to begin with, so that just new things.
So, yeah.
We was at, you remember the bonfires we used to have at school? Mm-hmm. Well, of course, there was like pieces of wood falling out of the fire, and Leroy had to fix it because, you know, he didn't want ashes in the yard. I don't know. But he went in, like, they used to burn pallets to make the, well, there was one that, like, it was half burnt, half not burnt, and it fell over, like, into the yard outside of the fire. So he goes over to it and tries to push it up, and when he was pushing it up, it collapsed because the bottom was burnt, you know, and it collapsed, and he got this big-ass burn on the back side of his arm. But he was burning on fire, and it wasn't literally on fire. It wasn't literally on fire, but like he just burnt the shit out of himself, and he's still trying to fix this fire. And everyone's like, "Would you just go find something else to do?" Yeah, and he just burned his.
I could just hear him though too, be like, "Oh, that sucks."
Yep.
And just keep on doing what he's doing. Like you were saying about the track thing too. There's one time he broke his leg, and he just.
Okay, cool.
Kept going.
And rode a bike home.
Mm-hmm.
He broke it riding bikes and rode his bike home.
Didn't say anything about it for like weeks.
Finally,
kind of hurts.
Greta's like, "Do you need to go to the hospital? I think that might be broken."
How about the Murph though?
So the Murph workout we do at the gym, he helped Leroy. If you can say one thing about Leroy, if you asked Leroy to help you, as long as you had beer and food, he was in. Didn't matter what the project was. He helped renovate 2 houses of mine, and then the gym, put the gym together. So every time looking at the rig, some days I'll just stare at it and like I still get teary-eyed because I remember us putting that thing up together and just swearing and bitching and like, why is that falling over? And he did a mile run. I think he did it half. He did a half-mile run for the first run, 50 pull-ups, 100 push-ups, 150 squats, and then the full mile run he did with me in cowboy boots.
Oh, Jesus.
In cowboy boots.
And he didn't work out.
No.
He was the strongest.
Super annoying. Super annoying. It was like fit, had abs, and like didn't do anything. We'd be like, "Oh, you want to do a Spartan race? Cool, that's fine. I'm ready.
Let's
you want to go?"
Yeah.
And
Give me a couple months. I gotta get myself ready first.
ate Taco Bell, ate all of this stuff every single day, and was just one of those people who just couldn't do it. It was super annoying, wasn't it? Yeah. And then he would always send me pictures of what he was eating and be like, "Hey, lady."
And he was so adventurous. That one of my favorite things about him was when he traveled the country. And he just did it by himself. Yeah, he just hopped in his car and drove west. I think. Well, how far west did he go? I know the Grand
South
Canyon.
and west.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I went down to Texas and
Louisiana.
With no plan, nothing. Just went. That's awesome.
He had some loose ideas of things that he had talked about, and he did all of them and more.
He sent me pictures, and he waited until he got back before I could see the pictures of his toes over the canyon because he knew that I would yell at him. But seeing the gate, like, he was actually kayaking where there were gators, and I was like, insane.
Yeah. Loose Ideas was Alyssa's nickname in high school.
Wow, Justin.
I might cut that.
So this is, I think you probably should. So kind of going on what we were just talking about, like, what adjectives would you use to describe your brother?
Oh, fearless.
Yeah.
And he was just a big person. He was little, but tall, but he was little, but he was just anything that he could do to help anybody, like you said. Adventurous. He was fearless. He just always was on the go, unless he was sleeping. But even that, sometimes he talked in his sleep. I do remember my favorite memory. There was one time he was sleeping, and Adam was on the phone. Adam had called, and this was before cell phones and stuff. So I'm talking to Adam, and I'm trying to wake Leroy up, and he's having a full-blown conversation with himself in his sleep. And I'm laughing. Adam's laughing at this point because he can hear it, and then he never did get up to answer the phone. But he was awake, but he just never actually woke up.
What was he talking about?
I don't remember. I just remember it was hilarious because it was like he was awake, but I don't know, sleeping the whole time.
But we'd have these grandiose plans to do things, during our nights of hanging out, drinking, and then we'd be like, all right, we're gonna go kayaking in the morning. We'll call you in the morning, and we would have to just show up at your house and go in and be like, Greta, Paul, we're here to get him, and then we have to pack his kayak and then drag his body out and be like, we're going kayaking, and that was our that, like, the adventures, I think, was what I miss the most about, like, times with Leroy is anytime you would be like, hey, do you want to? And he's like, I'm in. You couldn't even finish a sentence. They'd be like, do you want to go kayaking? And I have from Salzburg, Darcy took a video of him riding his kayak down this cement launch pad into the water, and the nose hit, and you just see him fling out and like walk on
across the water. Yeah, I've seen that video. It's funny.
That's crazy.
I think I have it on my phone. I'll just show you.
All right, we're 30 minutes in, so we're going to take a little break. And
okay, so we're coming back. Shared a couple memories, some good memories. Anyone have anything that they want to add as far as memories?
nah, I don't, I think.
There was one time Leroy got one of those remote-controlled boats, like instead of a car. And we took it down to our pond and we strung some fishing line to it in a night crawler and actually caught fish with it.
Oh my God.
Nice.
Another one of his ideas.
I
very
don't remember that it became a finished product, but I do remember he was trying to turn a Volkswagen into a truck. Did he do that?
It did?
Yeah, I'll have to show you some pictures.
Yeah, that was he would talk about it all the time. Yeah, never saw the finished
Yeah,
product.
if you guys give me pictures, I'll throw them in.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of my favorite memories too is this one time we had a party at Mark's house, and I lived in an apartment like close to Mark's, and somehow I left my car keys there, but I got a ride home because I was drinking and I was safe.
There you go.
Got a ride home, and the next morning I realized that I didn't have keys and I couldn't go anywhere. So I'm walking down the road. Leroy sees me walking in his Jeep, slams on the brakes, reverse. He's like, "Get in, lady." Well, we go to this person's house. My keys are not there.
Oh,
So whoever gave me a ride home had my keys.
Oh.
He took me back every dirt road trail, bouncing up and down. I was like, "You want me to throw? I know that you want me to throw up in this Jeep." And amazingly, that day I ended up calling off of work and hung out with Leroy all day. And we rode around in the Jeep, and that was my day. I was like, "I think I should call off work." He's like, "You should definitely call off work." And then we just hung out all day. And those are just the kind of things that he never had a plan.
no.
It was just roll with it. And I think he was really good at keeping all kinds of different friend groups too, because he was like, you know what, if I want to go do something with someone else, I'm going to hop in and go into this friend group. And then we started mixing like friend groups, and I always laugh. It's like, you know, what is it, the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, that's Leroy, because all these people know each other through Leroy, and people, if I pull in somewhere and they see my "Love You Bye" sticker, they know that that's for Leroy. And like, hey, how do you know him? And then we get whole conversations.
Justin says this all the time. Like, whenever you're at Rotary, you're kind of like a different kind of person. Whenever you're at work, you're kind of like a different kind of person. He didn't have to do that. He was just the same across the board. Didn't matter where he was, who he was with.
Yeah, I agree. So we're going to get into a little bit of the heavier topics, and we're going to talk about like emotions. What emotions have you experienced during your grieving process?
Oh, all of them. Obviously, just being devastated and sad and depressed about it. Not only because I'm feeling that loss, but to see other people, you guys, my parents, everybody, that line of people at the funeral home, all of those days. Like, my heart breaks for everybody. So that it just is, that part's a heavy load to think about. Or like you said, when people see your "Love You Bye" sticker, I have a tattoo that says "Love You Bye," and they start talking about it. Like, you don't realize how much literally one person can touch so many different people's lives. Whether it was like a phone call, like, "Hey, can I talk to you about this?" So whether it was a hug, whether it was he just passed them.
He gave the best hug. He did.
Just passed them on the street and he waved like a goofball. Like, you know, he just, no, it's crazy how many people that he touched that way. But
It's something whenever you're at a funeral, and I realized it when I was at one time. Like, Leroy was like, well, it's this person's brother, and it's this person's friend, and it's this person's nephew, and it's this person's, you know, grandkid or son. It's just like you said, the amount of people that are affected in such different ways. And he was so magnetic of a person. It's like everybody was impacted
if I pulled in somewhere and I saw his Jeep, I went looking for him to get a hug. Like, that's just, those were the things that, because he made everybody feel like somebody. Mm-hmm. In that moment that you were with him, like, he made you feel like you were important. And I think that that's why everyone liked him. And people that didn't, there was a very small amount of people that didn't like him. It's because they're assholes. Yeah. I mean, there were only ever difficult people that didn't like Leroy because he was such a joy.
Just a genuine person.
And then if they didn't like him, he kind of fed on that.
Oh, for sure.
So then there's that. But so then there's good times thinking about the memories, so that, like, you still feel happy. You still get excited about certain things that he would have been excited about. Mm-hmm. And then you get mad because it happened. You start questioning everything, like, why did that happen? Why did that happen? Why did it have to happen to him? Mm-hmm. So it's been all of the emotions.
Anger was a hard one for me for a long time, going through that. Because both, like, you know, when I was married, my ex-husband and I, we both were grieving, like, through that. And we lost grandparents, we lost other friends, other family members. Losing Leroy was the hardest. And I think it's just because you know that, like, he was a glue to our friend group for a long time. And we had Marissa on about a month or two ago, and we talked about postpartum depression, and she felt the same thing. Like, our friend group definitely changed when we lost Leroy. Even as much as you try for it not to, it does. You know, we went to certain events and stuff because we knew Leroy was going to be there. Like, that was our main reason to go. Like, hey, we want to see Kermie. Are you ready?
Did you still go to those things after he was gone?
I don't, like, for a while, but drinking really isn't... I don't show up as my best emotional self after his loss if I'm drinking. So for me, it's really hard to drink because then I get sad and then I remember all of the stuff that we did and like, it's fun to remember it, but when I do it drinking, it brings out like that different emotional side that you just can't, and you're not processing it healthy, and I know that. So I go down that spiral. And going through coping strategies, is there anything that you did that helped you kind of grieve?
Well, sometimes I regret some things because there were some times in there where we weren't on the best terms because of some decisions that were stupid. And you know, he like I said, when he was mad or he didn't like somebody, you knew it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was hard to get over that. So, but we were on the upside and we were doing better. So there's a lot of time I feel like I lost. So some of that time is filled with memories that I hear from you guys, and which is great. But you know, then you still feel kind of sad you missed out on a lot of stuff. But those events and those things that you guys did together and the things that he would do, they're things that I've tried to do now for myself. Like, he went skydiving, so we went skydiving. Mm-hmm. And I can see why he loved it.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I want to do because of Leroy, but I also feel like I need an adult diaper to do it because I definitely won't pee my pants.
Jesse's mom has gone skydiving and she wants us to go. Mm-hmm. She's like, I'll pay for it. It's fun. It's great. I'm like, okay, good, yeah. I wanted to jump into you saying about coping skills. You know, what I did is I threw myself into sports. Mm-hmm. I kept myself busy so I didn't have to think about it pretty much. Mm-hmm. And I think I was in every sport possible except for softball.
Yeah.
And that was my favorite thing to do. Sports, fortunately.
Do you still play music?
I do.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
I know music's a big coping mechanism for a lot of people. You kind of get lost in it. You played bass, right?
Bass and guitar.
Nice.
And I actually got a banjo now too.
So. Do you? Nice.
Nice.
I want you to know too, talking about those hard times and like those times where you were a little bit separated, knowing that I was so close with Leroy and you and I have a really great relationship, he was hard on you because he loved you. And he wanted the best for you, and he knew that situation wasn't the best. And in the long term, like, look what turned out for your life. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
you know, like, you ended up in a much better situation. And I think he was protective of you in his own way. Yeah. Like, Leroy won't tell you what to do, but he'll be mad at you for the situation. And I think that was his way of like, trying to tell you, like, I don't want you to be in this situation. And we're all like, we were what, 20s? We all know what's best for our lives at 20 years old, you know?
No, yeah.
I sure the hell didn't.
And it's just part of like a sibling thing. You go through that, like, and I hope that through like your processing, like, you can reframe it as, you know, that was his way of loving you in that moment, and it was not easy. I know. Do you and your family, do you guys have activities that help keep his memory alive?
Yeah, so my mom actually started with it because he liked to travel. You guys went everywhere. He went, like you said, anytime you ask him, do you want, you don't even have to finish the question. And he's like your dog. I'm sure your dogs do it too. You say, do you want? And they're like, they're tilting their head like, I'm ready, let's go. Yeah. So he loved to travel. So my mom started, which she's always been a good artist. She doodles, painted, did all kinds of things. And so she started Rooster Rock Travels. And it's a group on Facebook. So anytime you're going anywhere, you just shoot her a message. She'll get you a Rooster Rock. She just painted all kinds of different backgrounds on a little rooster. And I know you guys have taken them different places. We've taken them different places. Just a way to take a little piece of them everywhere. And you didn't necessarily have to leave it where you were going, but just to take it with you.
And get pictures.
And they're all over the world. There's some in Ireland. I know, just like anytime someone takes a vacation, I have a handle or a bunch of them sitting on my windowsill upstairs. Yeah.
And shout out to RB Keener right now. He's in the Philippines. He reached out to me last week and was like, do you have any Rooster Rocks? And I was like, I have one. You need to get a hold of Greta. And she will be happy to see you, number one. And two, she'll be so happy to see them travel.
Yeah. So did she send it to him out there? Or like?
No, he got them before he left.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Is he just on vacation?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
right.
he is like, him and Leroy kind of channel that same spirit.
He's adventurous too.
He goes by himself.
Yeah.
He goes by himself. He's like, I don't want to wait for other people.
Sure.
And that's kind of why Leroy just loaded up his Volkswagen. Was it a car then?
I think
it was still a car then.
Yeah, full car.
He just loaded it up and took it and went everywhere. And because he just didn't want to have to wait. And Greta started doing these rocks pretty immediately. After Leroy passed, and we had, I think Jimmy and Jordan went to Ireland maybe right after he passed, and then Adam and I in September went to Europe, and we traveled all over Europe, and we only had one rock, so we just took pictures everywhere we went with it. And Greta keeps a book, a photo book of where all of these rocks have traveled, and it's awesome. Incredible to watch. So
I'll throw the link for Rooster Rock Travels in here too.
Yeah, and you've got to see it all travel, and since 2018 till now, like, she's posted, I think it's been in almost every state.
Yeah. Yep. All
That's amazing.
So many countries. So I think my next bucket list with my Leroy adventure is Machu Picchu. We've talked about it one night having beers. We talked about going and climbing Machu Picchu and doing that, and that's on my bucket list. So good. That's one thing I want to do, and I'm not taking the bus rides up to it. I'm walking. I am staying overnight, and I'm camping out, and I'm doing what he would do. And then, we've got to fulfill our Angel's Landing, right? And we've got to climb that. Deidre's been there multiple times, and she's like, no one will climb to the top of this thing. And Leroy did it, I think, in cowboy boots. Yeah. Which is insane. Yeah. Insane. Like, just did in cowboy boots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And I think that is one of the healthiest ways I've seen people grieve, is like keeping his memory alive and doing these things. And at first, like, when I was in Europe and we had the rocks out, that was one of the hardest things, is putting like, because you knew like every place that you went that he would love to be, and now it's kind of like a passage of like this is how he gets to be there.
But if he could be, he would have been there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Didn't matter where you were finishing that.
He would be driving you to the place wherever.
So that's a big way that I've found that is helpful to do those things that he would have wanted to do or did do. Like even just like the Spartan races and stuff that you guys had done in the past, and just little things like that.
Yeah, you've been crushing a lot of those. Like absolutely.
That goes back to the people at the Y. Mm-hmm. We have a unicorn there too. His name's Buck.
Yeah, that's awesome. Nice. I love hearing about unicorns.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, do you think that with Leroy's passing, it's made your family closer, more connected?
I do. I definitely get more messages from my parents and my sister. Like even if it's, I can show you the message history with my dad. Even if it's just memes, just memes all day long. There's hardly a real conversation in there, but you know, definitely a lot more checking.
That's
in.
True friend right there. When you do that.
Pictures of my dog, the different things like that. Just a lot more checking in, even if it's just little things.
I love going to visit your parents. Like we went and picked up rocks, and we took your mom a book from gym therapy. It was about like grieving when we did a Mother's Day project, and I love just going and sitting there and just talking to them for hours because they are the best, and your dad is the second world's best hugger. Leroy was the first, and your dad and Leroy look so similar, and just like looking at him, it's just like comforting to see.
Yeah, Dad has those big blue eyes too.
Yes, absolutely.
And they are very supportive of all of his friends. Like I see your mom like commenting on things that Leroy's friends post on Facebook, or she'll make a post or something, and then it'll just end up being like this big long list of comments and stuff. There was two funerals. One was somebody that we went to school with. He was about 10 years younger than us. But your parents showed up. They were there for all of the kids that your mom used to teach and do class.
Mom.
And it was just amazing the support that your parents give to all of Leroy's friends.
Mom loved everybody. She was our high school gym teacher, and she, like you said, so supportive of all our friends. But she also taught us how to line dance, so she's seen us all our worst. So.
But you were only line dancing, so you didn't have to run the whole mile.
That is fair. Yeah, that is fair.
You could jog it. It was the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a big part of that is that you guys, especially, but the friends that Leroy spent the most time with spent time at the house, so they were all like family too. They were all like far off brothers and sisters and cousins, you know, and so that's helped all of us get through a lot of it as well.
Do you find it like difficult to be happy on occasions that you know that you should be?
Yeah. Yeah, especially different things like that you know that he would have been a part of. There's definitely just that emptiness you can feel. Just like somebody, like an empty chair, or you just feel it.
Well, the get together doesn't even happen anymore because he was the one that made it happen. He was the one that invited everybody there for however it goes. Yeah.
And you and Damien got married pretty soon after he had passed, right?
And it was very weird to think about it now, but Leroy was working away a lot at that point, and I told him the date that we had picked for our wedding, which was also my dad's birthday. It was a Saturday. I told Leroy, I said, so this is our wedding date, this is the plan, it's just going to be real small, do you think you'll be there? And he said, no. But he was referring to work, like he wasn't going to be there because he might not be there for work, because of work, but then sometimes it's just like little things like that. It's like the universe was like maybe trying to tell you something.
To give you a heads up.
Yeah.
Don't feel guilty for being happy though. Sometimes I know a lot of people hang on to that, and they feel like if they're happy, like they're missing out on something, or doing that person a disservice.
They feel like they're not grieving rather than being happy.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing, I think, not to, like, having an aunt that lost her daughter, and she has two little boys. I watch her struggle with that. Like, you can see her laughing and having fun at events, family events, and then you see that stop for like a second.
Yeah.
And you know that they're missing, you're missing that part of your family, and it is really hard. But also, then there's that flip side of knowing that they wouldn't want you to be sad, and it kind of brings you back. And I have a playlist that I like to listen to that it's called my Kermie playlist, and that's kind of stuff where I'm feeling that, like, that sadness and loneliness. Like, I definitely blast that. And there's a song on there that we played, Here's to Us, every time that we drank, and like that by Hailstorm, and that's probably one of my favorite ways to like bring it back. And there's a line in there that says, "Tell them to go F themselves," and like that was like when we would like hold our drinks up, and like that was the kind of a thing that kind of brings me back. But sometimes you just need to feel all the feelings and go through it.
Yeah.
Whenever my mom died, I remember like the family get-togethers weren't the same. And then when my grandma died, then we had less get-togethers. And now that my grandpa's gone, we don't even have them anymore, because they were like the rock of the party, I guess, for lack of better words. And we don't, like, our family doesn't even see each other. I haven't seen my mom's side of the family in, I can't even tell you how long. 5, 6, 7 years maybe. I mean, my fault partly, of course, but yeah.
Yeah, there's when you lose the keystone, it's hard to keep everything together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was with Leroy, though. He was the life of the party. Always.
For sure.
And what do you think this would what would you think would be the biggest lesson that you've learned, like, going through this?
Just that life is a very cliche, but life is short. You don't know how much time you're gonna have, so you just have to make the best of every single day, every minute that you have, because you don't know when the last time you'll see somebody. You don't know. You just don't know.
And do you have any advice for those that have lost, like, a sibling or a close family member?
I didn't realize how big of a group of people I had this in common with until it happened, and then I have friends or coworkers or acquaintances that this has happened to since Leroy's been gone, and I just try to reach out and just tell them, like, it does get better in a way. It doesn't ever it's never gonna go away. It's never gonna get good again. It's never gonna be the same. But I just try to tell them things that have helped me, or if there's like little lessons that I've learned like that. Just trying to do things that would make them happy, not to dwell on the negative of it all, but just try and, like I said earlier, try and remember that laugh. Think about it every single day so that you don't forget it.
Remember
Look at
too,
pictures all the time.
He wouldn't want you to be sad.
Right.
He wouldn't want us to be sad.
Right.
We lost another friend a few years ago, George, and I always think about when we're together with groups of friends, you just think you're going to hear that big, boisterous voice, he has just in the distance, and it's like you're always kind of waiting for him to walk in, and it's so sad,
Mine is the stomp of the cowboy boots and the clap while he's laughing. Like, when I see that in my head, like, I just, like, it brings me, like, tears about just funny things that we've done. And I think that, like, time sometimes is the only kind of passage to healing, too, is it just takes time.
Time heals all wounds.
And you can't beat yourself up through it. Like, you just got to go through the ups and downs of it. And I think, there were some really, 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 really low lows. And I lost a lot of people in my life. Losing Leroy was the hardest, the absolute hardest. And it's still, like, you just randomly think of him and cry. And
And a lot of people, and I've heard other people say this as well, but you think about the big things, like his birthday's coming up, or, the anniversary of when he died. Those are big things that obviously you're going to be sad. You're going to have those moments where you just want to cry. You just want to scream. When you have those releases, though, I think you feel better. Like, you have that good cry. You listen to that playlist, you look at the pictures, you cry, and you feel a little bit better because you got some release of it. But it's the little things every day. Like looking at your phone like you wanted send them a picture or a meme, or you hear a song and you're like, oh, that made me think of Leroy, or like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on TV. It's those like little things that happen so many times a day that are the gut wrenching, like make you want to throw up and cry things, because there's nothing you can do. They just keep coming.
Who is his favorite Ninja Turtle?
I don't know if it would have changed, because the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have changed so much over the years.
Right?
That's
But
fair.
I feel like it was always Michelangelo.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's what. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And he always had the best Halloween costumes. We were the Power Rangers one year, and Halloween still makes me a little sad, because we would always dress up and go to like the dive bars, the local dive bars, and that was our thing. And when we dressed up as Power Rangers, we were at Jarrett's house in the barn, and I don't know what happened, but somehow that Power Ranger ended up through a table and breaking it. So, and that was like one of the best times, and one of the best group photos that we have. It's just like him as a Power Ranger, and those are the things. You're right. Like, I try not to dwell on the date that he passed, because there's a poem about like the dash. What matters is the dash, like what's in between. And I always think of that, like he had so much life, and I think that's why I get so angry when I think about his death, is because he lived so loud that it like makes me so mad that he can't experience it anymore. And when I hear a lot of people like are super negative, and they're like, oh, screw today, like I didn't want to wake up today. I'm like, I always think about the people that can't, and like how lucky we are to keep going. And that's the kind of stuff that I try to like focus on when I think about Leroy, is like, he might not want to wake up. He want to sleep till noon. But when he did, man, that kid like lived out loud. And like I feel like that's the best thing we can do for people that we love, is try to honor their memory and serve other people in the ways that they did for us.
And in the, like, whenever you did something good, or you were striving to do something good or whatever, even if you failed, he was proud of you. Like, he always would say that he was proud of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was definitely always in your corner, whether you knew it or not.
Yeah. All right, does anyone else have anything they want to add and talk about?
I don't think.
Just you kind of touched on it. Another thing that people can do to help when they're grieving, doesn't have to be their brother or sister, anybody, you know, is just think of those things that made you love that person so much, and focus on those, and try to portray that in your own life to whoever you can. And then that I think is a great honor to the person you're thinking of.
And when we did this group, like that was the first thing we talked about, is how Leroy made everyone feel like somebody. Like he made them feel important. And when we started this group, that was the one thing we talked about, is making people feel like they belong, no matter who they are. Whew, it was a tough one today.
Yeah.
It was a tough topic. But again, I love talking about him, because that keeps his memory alive, and I think that's important too.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun today. This is really good.
Yeah. So thank you, Deidre, for coming on. And if anyone has any questions or has stuff that they want to talk about as far as like grieving, we'll help you the best we can. Deidre will reach out if you need it. Just reach out. Don't sit in your grief alone, because it can be debilitating.
Yep.
And check on your happy friends too.
Yeah. Well, you want to say it? Leroy's catchphrase?
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.